You've been dating this guy for months. Everything seems perfect, except for one thing. He just won't commit. What if I told you that he's actually testing you right now? Today, in this video, we're diving into the 7 tests that avoidants put you through before they'll let themselves fall in love, and how to handle each test like a pro. Now, I've helped thousands of women understand and navigate relationships with their avoidant partners. If you're wondering why your guy seems to take 1 step forward and then 2 steps backwards, and then 1 step forward and 2 steps back again, and it's a continuous ongoing struggle, this video is going to explain everything. Now, one quick disclaimer here. Not all of these tests are purely conscious. A lot of them, it's a blend of intentional and unintentional. I'll show you which ones they are. But it's not about manipulation either. It's about real needs. Avoidant people, if they're ethically avoidant, have real, honest needs to feel relaxed, dare we say, safe in a relationship. They might not use that word, but we know that that's what they're looking for. Risk-free is the word they probably would use. But all of these tests that we're going to go through here today, they are absolutely crucial and they must be passed. Now, this is not you jumping through hoops either that gives you nothing. All of the tests and passing them will build you a fulfilling and connected relationship as well. So you benefit from this process too. Don't feel like this video is telling you that you've got to sacrifice yourself for their happiness, because this video will show you how to build real happiness together. So let's go. Test number 1 is what I call the consistency test. The first test might seem obvious here to you, but it trips up so many women. A lot of avoidant people biochemically have heightened cortisol responses to perceived instability. Let's break this down. What it means is that consistency reassures their nervous system. They have a constant, ongoing sympathetic nervous system activation all the time. Their sympathetic nervous system is always on. Fight or flight is always buzzing, ready to go, because they're not used to having anyone watching their back. They are used to other people turning on a dime and either betraying them or screwing something up for them. And adaptability and fast response time has been their only way of staying safe for their whole life. So being constantly ready to adapt to someone messing things up for them is very important. This is why when you make the smallest change, they want to know why, but they may not ask you directly why, or they may interrogate you about why. They may demand to know exactly why you made this one little change. You comb your hair slightly different today. You wear a skirt that's a little bit shorter than usual. You wear a dress that's longer and more modest than usual. You might make little changes in your communication style. Maybe you have watched some of my videos here on this channel and tried to apply pieces of them without explaining, and the person went the wrong direction with it because it made them upset or nervous. Consistency is incredibly important for an avoidant person because they're always tracking changes, and then they need to understand why those changes are happening. Now, this is a little bit of a paradox with avoidant people, because as much as they are geared toward chaotic, turbulent environments, their system doesn't like chaotic, turbulent environments, because those environments demand hypervigilance, constant assessment, constant reassessment, and endless tracking of variables and people. This is why when an avoidant person gets overwhelmed and exhausted, they pull away into an isolated room where no one else is, so they can turn that off and rest for a moment. This is the only time their hypervigilance usually really turns off. So unpredictability, yes, they can thrive in it, but short term. It burns them out at the same time. If you're doing different things, surprising them, making changes, being inconsistent, this freaks them out. Unpredictability, in specific, triggers their fight or flight response and could cause them to rethink their entire relationship with you. Avoidant people, despite what they may say, are looking for consistency, especially in action. They're watching to see if you're the same person on day 100 as you were on day 1. Here's some of the things they are really checking for. And these are the really big ones. Everything is a little important, but these are the biggest ones, okay? Number 1, do you maintain your boundaries with them and with other people, or do you let your boundaries slip? If you let your boundaries slip, that means you're probably an unreliable protector or friend or ally, because you're going to fail at the moment of stress, and then everything comes flooding into their life from your direction. You are the danger point. You're the failure point. If you maintain your boundaries with them and with others, you are no longer a failure point. You are predictable, and that's very helpful to them. Number two, can they count on your emotional responses being stable? Will you respond emotionally appropriately to things, or are you likely to erupt into emotional challenges, erupt into anxiety, into anger, into collapse, into helplessness? Are you going to fall apart at a moment of stress, and then they have to caretake you and drag you out of the line of fire while they're also trying to dodge? What's going to happen when you collapse at that key moment? Your emotional stability and your boundary stability are two of the biggest points of consistency. You must pass on this test. And I said at the beginning, this is good for you as well. You need emotional consistency and stability, and you need healthy, proper boundaries. Your life gets better, but it also sends the correct signal to them. What they're really looking for is, are you secure? Interestingly, avoidant people are looking for secure traits, even though they don't know that secure people really exist. They're looking for you to have some secure qualities. If you can embody these things, this can attract an ethical avoidant person. So how to pass this test? Focus on being authentically yourself from day one. Do not put on a show that you can't maintain. And remember that consistency doesn't mean perfection. It means being reliable. So if you do mess something up, pause, self-correct, talk about it a little bit out loud, mention what happened, find the gap, solve the gap, and then make sure it doesn't happen again. And if you can do that, you are still consistent and reliable. You don't have to be perfect. Nobody's perfect. I'm certainly not. You're probably not either, and neither is the avoidant person. Be consistent from day one. And if there's any changes, explain them. This is how you can do this for the avoidant partner. But again, this is massive quality of life improvement for you as well. Now, remember, really quick, if you have any difficulties with emotional stability or with boundary issues, you can take the free attachment styles assessment on my website, adamlanesmith.com. I also have my free attachment newsletter available on there, where you can get tips on how to balance out your emotional stability and build better boundaries. So check out my website, adamlanesmith.com. Get those resources there. Test number 2, the independence test. This is where things get really, really tricky. Avoidant people despise clingy partners, but that also doesn't mean that they want complete abandonment where you never speak to them. They're drawn to partners who exude self-sufficiency, but who remain emotionally available. A lot of, weirdly, the avoidant men I talk to say, oh, I want a wife who has a full fleshed out career and hobbies and friends and interests, and she works like 60 hours a week. But I want to get married and have children. And then, probably raising them in daycare is not good. So one of us should probably be the stay-at-home parent. And they have a little bit, again, of a paradox here. What they're looking for is independence. They don't want you to collapse into them. They don't want to become your sole source of emotional support, emotional stability, emotional fulfillment. They don't want you to just give up and become nothing more than an extension of them, and now they have to caretake you all the time. They only understand independence usually through jobs and hobbies and things like that, so they push on you to do that, but at the same time, they do want connection with you. They will test your independence sometimes by creating distance suddenly. Usually not intentionally. It's usually because they're very stressed out. But sometimes they do wonder, what are you going to do when there's suddenly a gap between us? Sometimes they will become less available and pull back a little bit because they feel like they're giving too much. And they want to see what you do when they're not watering you and giving you sunlight. Are you a plant? Or are you a living creature that will wander about and get your needs met and talk with friends, work, do whatever you might do? Or are they your sole source of life? Becoming less available, a little bit more intentional, typically. Pulling away suddenly, that's usually, that pulling away and ghosting slightly is a little bit more of a manipulative tactic, so beware of that one. But slight less availability is usually a little more intentional. watching how you handle time apart. So they'll schedule time apart and see what you do. An avoidant's worst nightmare is that you're going to wrap yourself in a shawl, sit in a rocking chair by the window, look out the window and cry dramatically as you wait for them to return home. Avoidant people don't want their partner to suffer. Ethically avoidant people don't. They don't want you to suffer and for their time away to come at your expense. They want you to enjoy time apart from them as much as they do, so that they can guiltlessly take their own time apart and enjoy it and recharge. Remember that avoidant people right now are recharging on their own. The goal is to help the avoidant person become secure and then not have that same cycle, but they still will need some time alone on their own to recharge. How do you handle that time? Again, this test can be mixtures of conscious and unconscious. They do want to see how you'll react on sometimes, but on other occasions, they get really stressed out. They really do need the space. So how do you handle their need? Either way, the way you react tells them a lot about your self-sufficiency and how much maintenance you are going to need. The secret is to show them that you can thrive independently while still choosing to include them in your life. Don't chase them when they pull away, but don't completely detach either. Balance is key. Hey, I see that you're taking space. Let me know how much you're going to need. I would like to talk to you again at least by Thursday. So can we set something up then? Really reasonable. Okay. Chasing, no. Pursuing, yes. Hey, really quick. I know you're pulling away. I'd love to reconnect with you in a day or two. You let me know when you're good, and you let me know what you need for you to recharge during this time. Get to a situation where you say, hey, look, I really need you to tell me when you're taking time to recharge. Otherwise, you just peace out and I don't know what's happening. So just give me a heads up. And they do need to reach a place where they can give you a heads up where that's happening. But they're only really going to trust you to do that when you are not wrapping yourself in a shawl and crying by the window. When you say, hey, cool, you're going to take some time for yourself, all good. I'm going to go have lunch with my mom. I'm going to see my friend. I'm going to catch up on some things I was supposed to do. I'm going to go to pottery class. I'm going to go to Pilates. I'm going to be having fun. You let me know when you're good. And that actually decreases their stress level really quickly right there, because you've given them space to go breathe and they no longer feel pressure. Again, massive quality of life improvement for you. So lest everybody in the comments come in and say, Adam, you're making us cater to the avoidant person. This is a huge quality of life improvement for you. Nobody out there right now should be crying, wrapped in a shawl, sitting by the window. Please don't do that. If you're doing that, again, take my attachment styles quiz. You might have anxious attachment or disorganized, and then follow my newsletter and get some tips on how to build more stability. You need to start fixing that very quickly for your own quality of life, not even for them. Test number 3 is the pressure test. Have you ever noticed how your avoidant partner seems to retreat the moment that things get serious? That's the pressure test in action. Here's the science of pressure. Emotional intimacy activates their dopamine circuits, but for avoidance, too much dopamine triggers a withdrawal reflex due to fear of losing their individuality. This is also the oxytocin cycle at the same time, and the serotonin cycle. If they get close to you, their sympathetic nervous system turns off. And that's the miracle of male-female connections, is a calm, steady woman who's consistent and takes her own time for herself can help a man, especially an avoidant man, click into his parasympathetic nervous system and start resting. That means his oxytocin receptors that were shut for his life open up and he starts receiving it. But for the very first time, oxytocin, serotonin, dopamine, all of this floods his system and it feels weird and strange, and he begins to crave your presence, which makes him feel like he's going to lose his individuality to you. At the same time, he wonders that you're going to demand more of this from him than he can give, so he's going to start pulling back a little bit just to gain a sense of stability. It's like when you stumble, you spend a moment and you spread your legs and stand there and kind of make sure that you're steady. That's ultimately what the avoidant person's doing. Sometimes I call it the rubber band effect. They feel stretched out. There's a snap back where it goes back, and then they calm down. This is the effect. They're steady and going, wait a minute. Am I still okay? Am I still me? This is that pullback effect. Now, a lot of partners take this personally, and it hurts the relationship if you chase them at this point or take it personally or get upset. Again, they're doing this because someone in their childhood likely either used arbitrary demands or coercive soothing and forced them to soothe their emotions for them, or they were very arbitrary in their expectations and demands. So becoming emotionally intimate to you means that they are now vulnerable to you if you choose to hurt them, even if you won't, even if they know you won't. Being forced to soothe someone's feelings or being forced to take on arbitrary demands is frightening to them. It feels like slavery or death. They don't want to go back there. That's the source of their trauma. So they aren't running away from you in this moment. They're running away from their trauma response. Closeness feels like high risk and low reward to an avoidant person. Now they're starting to experience a little bit of the reward and it feels good, which is why they step back, because it feels too good. Here's what you need to do. Okay, they're checking to see if you're going to do this. They're checking to see if now that they're emotionally bonded to you and you're open, you're going to spring on them and push for commitment before they're ready to invest. Hey, we spent a really calm, soothing evening together, so I demand a wedding ring, right? They're waiting for that. Or they're going to see if you're going to try to force emotional intimacy against their desires. Well, we spent Thursday night snuggling. Why can't we spend 7 nights a week snuggling? And they're going to see if you respect their need for space so that they can breathe. When they need to step back and steady and have a trauma response, their family, early on, their caregivers chased them and demanded more and more and more and more. They didn't get a chance to pause, steady their feet, and breathe. Everything was taken from them. The worst thing you can do is remind them of that trauma. Now, the hack here, what you're supposed to do is let them set the pace while maintaining your own standards. Be clear about your long-term expectations, but don't demand immediate compliance. Understand and have some compassion for their trauma response while also telling them, hey, look, long-term, this is what I need and expect. We need to build a plan to get there and follow that plan. It doesn't have to be right now. If you're not at a place right now to be able to do that, cool. Take an evening, play with your friends, go do pickleball, go play some Xbox, go take a hike in the woods, go breathe, do you, and then come back and let's have a conversation about building this forward because we both like it. Test number 4 is the vulnerability test. Okay. Now there's a biological background here first that you have to understand. Sharing those vulnerabilities releases, like we talked about, more oxytocin, which fosters bonding for most people. But for avoidant people whose oxytocin receptors have been shut most of their life and who have lower levels of oxytocin hormones as a result, as it opens up and they begin to feel compelled to give affection to you, they want to spend time with you in a way they never have with anyone. They feel a surging warmth of affection in their chest. They want to give to you. And now they feel vulnerable. It feels like a loss of control, suffocation, overwhelming feelings. This is the sort of feeling that someone hurtful could manipulate in me. Someone could use this against me. Someone could hurt me if they ever wanted to. Even if someone was just emotionally unstable and didn't mean to hurt me, they might use this against me without meaning to, and it would hurt both of us. And that's where consistency, go back to consistency, that's where that comes in. A lot of these tests fit together like that. They have to stack. Now, there's something that I call, like I said, the rubber band effect. The more they stretch emotionally, the harder they snap back afterward to get that space. So the last test we talked about is as they're initially opening up. This is as they're going deeper with you and sharing about themselves, where they share those pieces of themselves they've never shown anyone, where they talk about the feelings, the pain, the sadness, maybe the loneliness. Loneliness is huge for avoidant people. The uncertainty, even the F word, the fear that avoidant people don't admit that they have. As they start admitting that, it goes so deep and rich into the oxytocin bonding. The rubber band effect is even more pronounced. So if you thought the snapback was big last time and the steadying effect was big last time, wait until you have a weekend where they share their entire painful childhood with you. They rest in your arms. You hold them. You feel connected. You have the best sex you've ever had. You get back from the trip. They give you a big kiss and say, hey, this has been so great. It's a new page of our relationship. And then all of a sudden they won't return your calls for 3 days. No one has heard from them. They're presumed dead. This is the process. This is the process. A lot of times, avoidant people sometimes during this time break up with you because it feels so horrifying that they can't handle it anymore. And so they run screaming. This is usually where they come into my coaching practice and say, Adam, I screwed up an amazing relationship and hurt the woman that I love, the day after our best time together that we've ever shared. What the heck did I do? And why did this happen? Help me never do this again. A lot of you guys out there, you think that I just tell you to cater to the avoidant people and that nothing ever changes. But here's the magic, is when we talk compassionately and honestly about avoidant people and their challenges, all of a sudden they don't feel attacked. Now they start saying, maybe I do want to fix this. Maybe I can trust somebody. Maybe I can open up. All of you people who leave comments in the comment section supporting avoidant people and talking about the love you have for them, that's actually huge encouragement for the avoidant people coming and reading that. So your comment is probably helping someone else's partner feel better to have those conversations with that person. This is the way our community is supporting each other. So the goal here is not to never have the avoidant person change. It's to foster the kind of environment where you craft a secure relationship together. And over time, both partners shift and become much more secure and build a loving, intimate relationship for each other. So there's that magic. I do have a video coming very soon on how to love anxious attached partners too. So a lot of you have asked about that. Interestingly, a lot of avoidant people have been asking for the reverse now. How can I love my anxious partner better? Because they are compassionate to me. They're mindful of me. They're watching your videos and learning, and I feel connected and I feel at peace with them. So how can I give them love back? This is the magic that happens when we are loving and caring for each other. Just as like you're passing these tests, they can begin to reciprocate with you. It should not all be one way. Okay. Now back to the avoidant person, as they begin opening up to you, they don't understand this reciprocity yet. This is something in coaching I have to teach them and say, look, other people should be part of the relationship process with you, and they should be active. It shouldn't be you continuously making them feel things. They should be working with you to solve problems. At the moment that they begin sharing and opening up, an avoidant person thinks it's all them. Everyone else is just kind of like wild animals in constant flux, and they have to maintain everything. That's why they have the rubber band effect. That's why they feel unsafe. That's why it scares them to open up to a wild animal who could turn on them at any moment. Following the consistency test and this vulnerability test and all of this, absolutely crucial so that they can begin to trust you. Managing this moment can lead to a huge explosion of growth and trust in the relationship. This is where most relationships, in fact, with avoidance are make or break. They're going to share something personal, then they'll watch like a hawk to see a couple of things. How do you handle their emotional disclosure? Do you get really pitying toward them all the time? They hate that. Do you use their vulnerability against them in some way? Do you reciprocate appropriately? Do you open up to them and return that kindness and share and nurturing? In fact, one of the best things you can do, the key is responding with empathy, yes, without making a big deal about it. No pity, empathy. Respect is an even better term. I respect you for having gone through all of that and still being so strong and building good relationships. And yes, you might be a little bit avoidant, but I respect you because you have gone through this and come out the other side and you're still so honest. You're still so strong. Show appreciation for their trust in you without overwhelming them with emotion. Oh, it just meant so much to me. I cried for 3 days in gratitude. No. Hey, I want you to know it meant a lot to me the other day that you trusted me. I want you to know that I'm going to take that trust very seriously. If there's anything that I can do to help you feel more comfortable, because I know sometimes people feel awkward after they share, just let me know. But I just wanted to say thank you and that I respect you for what you've gone through. That's enough. Avoid judgment or overreacting. Let them feel safe in that disclosure. And if they need some space afterward, let them know you appreciate the disclosure and that you'd like to reconnect at their next convenience. Hey, I know it can be rough afterward, and I know some people feel awkward. If that's you right now, totally good. But I want you to know I respect you more. If you need to take some time to breathe, cool. And I'd love to reconnect with you when it's comfortable. When can we do that? I know we're going through these, and it probably, again, feels like, man, there's a lot of work here. This is a lot to do. Maybe. But remember that all of these things are actually building a secure relationship for you. And if you are having trouble with any of these, you might need to work on your own security too. You would have to do all of these things with a secure partner anyway. It's just that the difficulty threshold might be turned down a little bit. It's that a secure partner won't pull away from you as openly. They might verbally let you know that they're having those feelings, but they might not pull away. The difficulty for a lot of people actually comes in their anxious response as the avoidant person pulls away, and it feels personal and it hurts, and they kind of lurch like this and it hurts, and then it feels hard. That's the difficulty. So let's roll through these. We've got 3 more. Test number 5, the crisis test. Stress amplifies your and their insecure attachment behavior. So avoidants observe whether you may remain calm or escalate conflicts. They, again, thrive in crisis, short term. It's what avoidant attachment is for. And they want to make sure you're not going to make their life harder as they navigate crises and challenges. Your reaction to a crisis situation is a predictor of long-term compatibility in their eyes. A lot of times avoidant people come into me and say, Adam, I have a great wife or girlfriend, but life has been really hard lately and it feels like I'm fighting her tooth and nail. It feels like I have to hike through enemy territory. I have to strap her to my back, and the whole time she's screaming at me and punching me in the head while I'm trying to carry her through danger, and I'm trying to take care of us both, and she's making it so much harder. This is how they feel, and this is why it's a challenge that you have to overcome. Avoidant people pay close attention to how you handle stress in crisis situations. They're looking for emotional stability under pressure. Instead of shutting down, quitting, having a meltdown, instead of screaming and punching them in the head while they're carrying you, do you work with them? Problem-solving abilities. Instead of anger and blame, do you work with them during a crisis? If they have to stand there and shoot bandits through the window, are you constantly handing them ammunition and thinking of ways to level out the playing field? Are you working with them to resolve the issue, or are you at least not getting in their way? Then the third one is, do you become overly dependent? Or are you able to work together as a team, following into co-functional roles? A lot of women in particular crave to be helpful and supportive to a man during his crises and challenges, to build vasopressin with him. Women instinctively know this, and they try to build vasopressin. So they say, what can I do to help? And he goes through the list of tasks in his head that he has to do and says, well, you can't do any of those, so you can do nothing. And she's like, nothing? I'm useless? And what he doesn't understand is that there's a gigantic array of support things that she can do. She can take stress off his plate. She can tackle the problem from other side with things he can't do. Maybe she can just give him a place to rest after his difficulties. He needs to understand that there are so many things that she can do to assist him. Most avoidant men have never had someone assist them. So most avoidant men, they won't even get an assistant. They have everything done themselves, and they work 90 hours a week. And then most of them push off their partner who's trying to help them. Now, what's funny is a lot of avoidant men will step in during a crisis and try to be supportive of you, but they won't let you step in and be supportive of them. So passing this test means a couple things. Success here especially means when the avoidant person faces a future crisis of their own, number one, you're not going to get in their way by freaking out, making survival harder for them. I know that work is really hard right now, but I just feel like you never spend time with me and you don't care about me. Like, don't do that, okay? If they have to handle problems around you, or if they have to stop problem solving to soothe you, this relationship will not work. That's when they will say, hey, I don't know that this is going to work. But if you can prove that you're an asset during a crisis and that you'll hand them more ammunition during the battle, their vasopressin bonding hormone kicks in and they'll want to stick with you for future challenges. Use the aspect of vasopressin bonding. It's a very natural, healthy, non-manipulative thing. Work with them during a crisis and show them that support. Show them your stability, back to consistency, stability, problem solving, and support. And that will bond you to them during that crisis. Now, test number 6 is subtle but crucial. It's the social integration test. In this one, the avoidant person is unconsciously assessing whether you complement their world or disrupt it. They're watching in particular for how you do things like interacting with their family and friends, maintaining your own social connections, and balancing social obligations. This is especially important if the avoidant person keeps their relationships in careful balance. Maybe they only share certain parts of themselves with their mother, or they keep their friend group separate so no one knows more about and the moves he's making. He keeps things in his life compartmentalized between his groups. Now he's bringing in someone who can disrupt that carefully maintained balance, and he has to know he can trust you not to screw it all up. Are you going to streamline his socialization process and help watch his back while improving relationship harmony? Yes, you are. Or, in his eyes, are you going to blunder and mess up his carefully arranged social system by telling his mom everything he gets up to with his friends and everything he does that he's never admitted to her and how emotionally connected he is to you, but not to her, and now she's mad and angry? Are you going to mess things up for him accidentally even? Now, the real hack here, the way to win this one, is to be genuinely interested in their social circle and understand how to balance it out, learn the rules of his social system, especially just by asking him, hey, what are you expecting? How can I integrate in a frictionless way that supports you? What do I need to know about each person? And what should I not say or mention to each person? Very crucial piece of it right there. A lot of times it's, well, how can I make them like me? No, what should I not mention to each person? Keep that in mind. Keep his confidentiality top of mind. And maintain your own social circles. Remember back to, do you sit by the window, wrap yourself in a shawl and cry? Maintain your own social boundaries and connections on your own. Yes, he can and should meet your friends and family, but you should also have times with your friends and family by yourself. Make sense? When he's out with his friends and family, you should see your friends and family at times. You don't have to navigate the entire world as one biological entity. Separate, spend time together and alone, and then come back and talk about the time and enjoy the new time together in the evening. Show him that you can blend into their world without overstepping or losing yours, in other words. Now, test number 7 is one that's going to spark some of you a little bit strangely. Please trust me here and bear with me on this. We're going to have a conversation about why this is important and what the limits are. Test number 7 is the time test. The final and longest test is simply time. Time reinforces neural pathways of trust when you're passing those first 6 tests over and over and over. Remember, again, consistency in that first test. For avoidant people, this rewiring process is slower and takes longer. That's why rushing them undermines their ability to feel secure in the relationship and makes them suspect that you're hiding something or trying to take advantage. Well, she's pushing for marriage in the first 6 months. She probably has 5 secret children stashed somewhere that she hasn't told me about that I'm instantly going to become responsible for. It's a whole process of somewhat honestly just paranoia, but understanding that they can take their time to build that trust is crucial. Avoidant people in particular need to see that you won't bombard them with big emotional ultimatums, that you can focus on mutual growth and mutual understanding, and that you can maintain healthy patterns in the long term. They also realistically need to see and prove that the relationship can weather different phases without unstable or unpredictable outbursts. Now, there is no shortcut here. You need to demonstrate peace and reliability over time. You simply need to show up consistently as yourself while respecting his attachment style, and it should begin changing at the same time. And now that said, you can't be a blank slate because he doesn't want that either. He doesn't want someone who's just a doormat who says, okay, we can wait 8 years before we even talk about putting a label on it. That's fine. No, he wants an independent and smart partner who has boundaries. We talked about that, right? Who puts up a positive, healthy boundary and knows what she wants. So make sure you're clearly communicating your own timeline, boundaries, and expectations as well. Then discuss how those two can overlap and how to make this work. Everything should not endlessly be catering to his time all the time. And he says, look, I'm going to need at least 40 years before I can decide if we should be mutually exclusive. No, hey, I'm sorry. I'm willing to give you about, let's say, 3 months. 3 months for mutual exclusivity, 6 months to make sure that this is a really good fit. And then at a year or 18 months, I want to be discussing engagement. And I'd like to get married by 2, maximum 3 years is what I'm looking at. Can we make that happen? And what needs to happen during that time? I will tell you this, there is nothing in 2 years that you can't learn about somebody as long as you're doing proper testing. You don't need to wait 10 years to see if somebody is the right fit for you. I've had people come in at age 79 and say, okay, I think I'm ready to get married now. And I'm not kidding. I mean, I know that sounds kind of silly, but at 79, okay, I think I'm ready to get married now, but I have my partner and we've only been dating for 3 years, so I don't think I'm ready to marry them. I still need a couple more years before I'm ready. Literally 79, okay? And they have not had a deep, romantic, intimate connection before. So let's not be silly about this. And let's make sure that both sides have their boundaries and both sides can conversate about this. You as a couple should be discussing your timelines, and it shouldn't be my way or the highway, or I don't like that you have boundaries, so I'm out. That's a pretty clear sign that this is not going to be a good, sustainable relationship. Now, really, really, really giant golden flag I want to wave in front of you right now. Understanding these tests does not mean that you have to walk on eggshells. If you feel like you have to walk on eggshells, that would indicate an unhealthy relationship. And an ethical avoidant person should not want that for either of you. Instead, use the knowledge here in this video to build an authentic connection while honoring both of your needs and theirs. This testing system here should build a secure relationship, especially as you're having conversations with them about these things. You should be talking to them about each of these tests. You should watch this video with them and have a conversation about each test and how to pass it together. This should be a cooperative experience, not you jumping through hoops to please them. And no ethically avoidant person wants you to endlessly jump through hoops forever, because they know what it's like to have someone be arbitrary to them and make them jump through hoops. They don't want that for you either. Remember here, the goal is not just to pass these tests once and be perfect or to fake your way through. It's to show that you're genuinely compatible with their current attachment style and invested into them as a person, not as a resource that you're trying to mine for feelings. This ensures they can fall in love with you for who you really are, so then you can grow into a beginning relationship and a beautiful lifelong bond where they should work to become more secure and more proactive for you, and you continue to be proactive for them. The goal here, one more time, is to build a fulfilling relationship where both of you are working proactively in a secure relationship together. This video happens to be the things that an anxious person or secure person can do to make that easier for an avoidant partner. Now, remember also that it's incredibly important to know that your avoidant person is not the only one with an attachment style. The way that you attach affects your connection too. And if you're having a tough time with these tests, there could be a hidden issue holding you back from building the love that you deserve. If you're ready to understand your own attachment style and how it affects your relationships, click the link down below to take my comprehensive attachment assessment. I built this assessment based on my 16 years of experience with psychology and relationships to help you identify what patterns are preventing you from feeling safe and fulfilled in your most intimate connections. In this test, you're going to learn your attachment style, the level of severity, and some opening steps to becoming secure. And don't forget to subscribe to my newsletter for weekly insights on building secure, lasting relationships. Both are linked in the description. Thank you for walking with me through this. I know it was a long one, but I hope it was very helpful to you. If I can get some shout outs in the comments, avoidant people, I know you're watching, like, yes, these are the tests, and yes, this is what I need a partner to be for me. Anxious people or secure people, hey, Adam, I think that I can pass these tests. I'm doing great in them. Give me some information on what to do on test number 4, right? I read those comments. I'm here. I'll respond. If you need direct help, shoot an email to support@adamlanesmith.com. I'm here for that. If this video was helpful, please like, comment, subscribe, and ring that bell so that you get notifications when I go live and when a video pops out. I'm Adam Lanesmith, the attachment specialist. It's been a wonderful time sharing this here with you today. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your trust, and I'll see you in the next video.